people. Vlogmas day 5 already. It's another grey day, -1, not very remarkable. Must say I'm craving some precipitation. It's always too dry here. We could do with some rain, maybe just a little bit of snow. I wouldn't say no to a bit of snow. Sometimes when we go away for our anniversary retreats, it's very snowy where we go, and we can take our snowshoes and go for a good tromp through the woods, but not going to do that this time, I'm afraid. But they'll be walking and they'll be hot tubbing and cozying up in front of a wood stove. So that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Working today. Tomorrow I was hoping to have a crafty day with friends, but as usual, other commitments seem to be taking precedence in their worlds. So I may have a crafty day all by myself. But I think that a little bit of baking and a little bit of crafting will make the day very pleasant. And then on Saturday, we're off for our little retreat in another town. Looking forward to that. Always nice to have a little getaway. It's funny because, you always think you have to have a retreat or a getaway from your everyday life, but actually I really like my everyday life. But it's still nice to have a change of scene, isn't it? Change of pace. I know Mr. Stitches really needs that decompression time, de-stress time. Okay, my arm's getting tired now, so I'm going to drink my coffee and maybe put a few jigsaw puzzle pieces in before I go to work.
It's coming along. Put a few more pieces in today.
Well, it's about 7:30 in the evening. I had a good shift at work, although I thought I was working 12:30 till 4, and then it turned out I was actually working 12:30 till 5. So I got all excited at 4 o'clock thinking I was leaving, and I wasn't. Anyway, yeah, it all went well. I was putting stuff on shelves and helping out at cash quite a lot. I've got some cookies in the oven now. They are just basic oatmeal cookies, and the bleeper is about to go off because I wanted to do this rocky road experiment tonight. I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what I'm using as a recipe to get me started. The cookies are done. It was just a small batch, so I only made 7, although they're quite large. I'm probably not going to use them all because I only need 120 grams of them. So I have my Rocky Road recipe ingredients ready. I've got some chopped walnuts and some Dandy's marshmallows, which are animal free. And this is the melting mixture, which I will get ready before I stir in my crushed cookies and nuts and dandies. It's got chocolate chips, a couple of tablespoons of maple syrup, and some vegan butter. So the recipe I'm basing all this on, firstly, this was out of one of my own recipe books, and I just left out the chocolate chips that were in the recipe. You just mix these things up first, all the dry ingredients, and you blend these and mix the two together. Makes a really easy vanilla oatmeal cookie. And once I've made those, I'm looking at this recipe by wallflowerkitchen.com. Never heard of them before, but I did find a couple of other recipes in different websites with different sorts of ingredients and proportions in, but I'm going with this one. So it says 300 grams of chocolate chips, 60 grams of butter, 2 tablespoons of syrup, which I'll melt, and then I'll stir in 120 grams of biscuits, 100 grams of nuts, and 75 grams of marshmallows, except that I've increased that to 100, because why not? And I think it just goes into an 8-inch square dish, but I won't really know until it's all mixed up. Whew, I'm a little flushed. Must be all that standing in front of a hot stove. So I came downstairs because I'm waiting for those cookies to cool off so I can break them up and stir them into my rocky road. It's just as well I have lots of people to share these things with so that when I do an experiment, I'm not the one who eats it all. I had another little splurge at Michael's today because I've just, at this time of the year, I know I said it before, I kind of get into paper and paint and arty supplies that are different from what I do other times of the year when it's more about yarn and fabric. And when I did get my art supplies out, I realized there was a few shortfalls. So I did try and be sensible and only stick to what was on my list. In fact, I didn't get everything on my list. I really, really wanted to buy a couple more ink pads for rubber stamping. I resisted that. I thought this was enough for one day. And this pack of paintbrushes, they are made from something called Taklon. So they're synthetic brushes, not very expensive. And I know all of the books, like the ones I got out of the library last week, all about journaling and all that sort of thing, said don't buy cheap brushes because they'll shed bristles into your work. I thought, yeah, I don't do enough of it to justify buying expensive brushes. And this had the one in it that I specifically wanted. I can't find it now. It's that it's that sort of shape. Croak. And it has it. I've seen. I think Andrea Taylor is her name. Somebody I follow on Instagram who does amazing watercolor. It's just really simple. She teaches how to paint with watercolor, just really simple things, and she makes it look so easy. And she uses that sort of shaped brush a lot. So I got this pack of brushes, and I thought if my friends come over tomorrow for a little bit of a crafty day, I'll be well stocked. And even if they don't, I'll still be well stocked and I can play with them myself. I also got a glue stick because for some reason I always think I own a glue stick, but I can never find one when I need it. So I got a washable glue stick. So that'll be good if I'm not using the double-sided tape for sticking paper down, then I'll have the glue stick now, which will be a lot better than the liquid stuff in a bottle that just goes everywhere and crumples the paper. Now this is something I've been wanting to try in a long time. I heard people talking about this stuff like 30 years ago who obviously knew what they were talking about. And I was like, what's gesso? I have no idea what it is. Why would you need it? Do I need it? And I do know what it's for now. And I can see a good reason to try it. And what with Kate at the Last Homely House doing an advent where she is doing what she calls mark making every day. So she's playing with things like this and watercolor paints and pens and stuff like that. I thought I'd give it a go. I only got a relatively small bottle. We have tubs of it at work, like big things. You can spend like $100 on a tub of gesso. Obviously, I wasn't about to do that. It's an opaque matte white ground you apply to surfaces to seal and prepare for painting. So you can put it on your paper before you start to do your art. Will I like using it? I have no idea. This brand is Liquitex. Again, don't know if that's a good brand. But it was relatively affordable, so I got that. Plus, of course, I get my staff discount off all this as well. And then I got this pad of mixed media paper. Now, I got a pad recently of sketch paper, which is quite a bit thinner because I wanted to use it for pages in my handmade journals. And of course, it's great for that because it's not too thick. But mixed media paper is probably about twice as heavy. £98. I think the sketch paper was maybe £60. It tells you what the weight is. So I think this is probably about 1.5 times heavier. It says you can use it for all different things. It's thick enough to use for watercolor, as well as all sorts of other mediums or media. And it's got 60 pages. Definitely not one of the most expensive there. I had a look and some of them were 20 pages for the same price. So I obviously got the 60-page one. So I'd like to have a little play with that too. So a little bit of stash enhancement in the painting department. I consider that as long as everything still fits in this room, it's fair game. If it gets to the point where I have to start adopting another room for my stuff, then I'll know I've probably gone too far. So I'm waiting for those cookies to cool. So I think what I can do is make the most of my time by cutting my little triangles out of my snowball blocks. So that's what I'm going to do next. I could use a rotary cutter for this, but I think it'll be quicker to just fold those back and cut by hand with an approximate 1/4 of an inch seam, maybe a little more generous than 1/4 of an inch, but that's all right. So how are you enjoying your December so far? It feels like it's going slow to me. Of course, my perception of time might change. Probably next week when I'm away for a few days with Mr. Stitches. Those few days will probably go by far too fast. Do let me know in the comments what you do in December. Whether you celebrate something, whether you'd rather avoid the whole palaver, whether you make gifts for your families. I always say I don't make gifts for people at Christmas. Somebody was saying something like, there's obviously a lot of people at work, or customers, I should say, at work, who are coming through buying stuff to make gifts or to just give the thing they're buying as a gift. And a lot of yarn flying out the store right now. And most of it is Bernat blanket. Chunky, chenille, fluffy yarn to make quick blankets and things like that. And I said to a lady today, I said, I don't make gifts for Christmas. And that is mostly true. I have been known to make things to give to my friends at Christmas. My family, every now and again, I'll get all inspired and make something for them. I think last year I made Mr. Stitches a couple of pairs of pajama pants. I think it was last year for Christmas. It could have been for his birthday, though. And I also like to buy the boys those Costco pajama or lounge sets, which is maybe a pair of plaid pants with a coordinating long sleeve top. And they do seem to like them. I've done that a couple of years now. I'm not sure whether I did it last year or whether they need any more. At this stage in the game, Costco's probably already sold out of those anyway. We did talk about whether we were going to do gifts this year a few weeks back. What we ended up deciding is to go to a show. And we're going to go and see Matilda on stage, Roald Dahl's Matilda, this year. And then on Christmas Eve, that's when we traditionally have our main meal, Christmas Eve, because that's a tradition that we continued from my mother-in-law, who was Swiss, and they always did more of a big thing on Christmas Eve rather than a Christmas Day thing, and that's when they did their gift giving. So we will have a big dinner Christmas Eve. Which is wonderful, because on Christmas Day, when everyone else is all stressed and cooking a massive amount of dinner and arguing with their family members, maybe I'll be having a long, leisurely lie-in and not stressing about cooking anything in particular, probably. Maybe just some pancakes. This is endless, this job. I've managed to get this pile done, but I've still got these. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through, but I'm fed up with it, so I'm going to go and see if my cookies are cool now. Cookies came out amazing. 12 minutes of baking, and they're absolutely delicious, even though they're very plain. And 120 grams is just 1.5 cookies. So I'll put that into my bowl. But I'm kind of hoping that my melted chocolate will coat more than that. It may not. I'll just have to accept that. Okay, there's my nuts, marshmallows, and cookies. This is my chocolatey mixture, which I heated up in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes, stirring every 30 seconds. Here we go. Chef's perk, I get to lick the whisk, right? Hopefully there's enough chocolate there, because it's supposed to hold it all together once you stick it in the fridge or the freezer. Looks alright. Probably shouldn't be tempted to put any more cookie in there. My Rocky Road has had 20 minutes in the freezer. I'm going to cover it over and leave it in the fridge overnight now. Well, it's coming up for 9 o'clock and I'm tired, and I finally got to my couch. So I'm going to finish day 5 right here and get on with the editing and uploading. So I'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.